I'm Todd Bookspan, and welcome to your neighborhood real estate show. The hyperlocal real estate show where real estate professionals talk about the neighborhood you live in or the neighborhood you want to live in. This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today. Hey everyone, I'm Todd Bookspan, and welcome to another episode of Your Neighborhood Real Estate Show. I am super excited to introduce my new friend, Kaushik Sirkar.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going awesome. So we're going to go on a journey today. We're going to not just talk about Arizona, but we're also going to talk about California real estate as well. So that'll be kind of fun. We have not ventured outside of the great state of Arizona. Any of these conversations before, so that'll be a lot of fun. But, kind of walk me through sort of how you got into real estate, because I don't know too many real estate agents. I'm like overqualified in my field because I got my MBA, but you've got me beat. You've got your MBA plus a few other degrees.
Yeah, my background is I'm actually an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer. Bachelor's, master's, PhD in chemical engineering and an MBA.
Dr. Sirkar.
Yeah, so what are you doing selling real estate, right? I had my real estate license for my own investment properties way back in the day. My coworkers at one of the big semiconductor companies in town, hey, help me buy this, help me sell this. Next thing you know, my hobby is paying more than my day job, right? So I took my real estate business full-time in Arizona in 2009. Got licensed to sell in Southern California, well, all of California in 2015. And now I service all of SoCal and all of the Phoenix metro area and some of Northern Arizona as well. God, how did the transition happen, right? I mentioned for my own investment properties. I had no plans of doing this. 05, 06, I got my license for my own investment properties. If you had told me I'd be selling real estate full-time in 09, I'd be like, what kind of drugs are you on?
Yeah, exactly. I say not the best time to start the business.
Yeah. It just kind of took off from there, right? The Arizona business slowly grew to where, we're doing, myself basically 25 million a year.
That's awesome.
Which are just lovely numbers.
That's a big number if you don't know.
Yeah, those are huge numbers. Way more units in Arizona. I just happen to know way more people. California, less units, but whenever a unit gets sold, it's usually 1, 2, 3, 4 million. It's more of a home run. Baseball analogies, right? A lot of singles in Arizona. You hit some home runs, some grand slam home runs over there. $4 million house, $5 million house. Those don't happen quite as often in the Phoenix metro.
True. Very true. All right. So I view you kind of as a multi-dimensional, right? Not just multi-state, but multi-dimensional, because you've got team members over in California. You've got some team here, and I know that you really love to coach and lead others. So kind of talk about that.
It's interesting you're bringing up coaching and leading, right? Real estate is a business where, ballpark, depending on which statistic you look at, maybe 10% of the people do 90% of the business.
Right.
Is the other 90% truly incompetent? No. For whatever reason, they don't have the right pathway. They don't have the right blueprint towards success, right? And one thing that I've done with bringing on certain team members, and I'm looking to bring more, is providing that blueprint, providing that framework for them to have success. They're very talented individuals. They have a large network. They're just not utilizing their skills to properly tap their network. And I show folks how to do that, right? And I can partner with folks. Either they join my team and I show them these strategies and we work together, or what I will be launching is an actual direct coaching program where people can just have consultations with me and I can guide them down this path as well. There's a lot of people out there. They're very talented, right? They're very smart. They're very articulate. They have connections. They know a lot of people. For whatever reason, they don't have the blueprint to put it together. Now, I remember one, I think it was a lady quite a few years back wanted to join my team. Had you sold any homes? No, I haven't. Okay, well, what do you do? Who do you know? I'm a welder. Okay, I don't know any other welders. Are you friends with the other welders in your company? No. Your kid's school. Are you friends with the other parents? No. Who do you spend your time with? Just our kids. You got to start from scratch. You have to develop a network before you can market to them and tap that network, right? There's tons of folks that have a big network that's ready to be tapped, right? And those are the people that I want to talk with and explain to them and show them the process, the processes, the techniques, the tools on how to tap those people and make them loyal, raving fans and clients.
Well, I would say if they know you and like you already, you're already halfway to the finish line. Right?
100%.
People want to work with people they know, like, and trust.
Know, like, and trust. And what is step one? They got to know you. They got to know who you are, right?
I think it's always interesting because I find, at least in the mortgage side of the world, that a lot of people don't actually work with their friends and their family. And it always surprises me that the friends and family don't, they know they're in the business. I always say sometimes they just don't know, but then they don't actually trust them. And I thought, oh, that's always really interesting. And I feel like the right people, for me, that was a huge part of my business was friends, family. We talked about getting our MBAs, and I got my MBA, and I refinanced half my class and a quarter of my professors, right? My first few months in the business. And so I always love the fact that that's your blueprint, to use your word, that you're going to help people understand how to grow not just a business, but a big business.
It's interesting. Mortgage and real estate, they are obviously very tied together, very related, but I find there are some differences in that the mortgage business is more B2B, if you will. You guys work with a lot more realtors directly. Of course, it helps that you have the individuals who come to you directly,
right.
Whereas real estate is more B2C. We go directly to the consumers. We advertise en masse and try and form relationships, connections with the individual humans, if you will.
Well, so when you said that you came out of the engineering world, working for a big name that people would know in the chip world, and you said a lot of those folks actually are your clients over in California because they tend to go over there as well, or how does that?
It's interesting, right? Where a lot of my clients are engineers, semiconductor people, a lot of programmers, computer science people, and a lot of medical professionals. I network with a lot of medical professionals, right? Let's talk about the semiconductor people, right? Everybody knows what two of the biggest semiconductor companies are that are in the Phoenix metro, all right? There's a really big one in San Diego. There's a bunch in the Bay Area. These people don't stay with one company their entire careers, or rather, that's the exception instead of the rule these days, right? They're moving to San Diego, right? And vice versa. I'm more than happy, and I have on multiple occasions helped folks with both ends of their transaction,
awesome.
Right? Moving from here to there, moving from there to here. You don't have to talk to 2 different realtors. You don't have to talk to 3 different transaction coordinators. You talk to me for every aspect, right?
Yeah.
Simplify that process. I don't do business at the moment in the Bay Area. I certainly can. If I found the right partner, teammate, because I need boots on the ground there, I would consider doing some business up there as well. It makes sense because I know tons of people up there. We talked about Phoenix to San Diego. Same thing applies a little bit to OC and LA. There's a lot of tech defense companies. Folks move back and forth. I'm happy to help them. Hey, if they want on both sides of their move or just one side. My California clientele, the people who buy their primary residences over there, they often also end up being my investor clients, buying their $200, $300, $400 rental homes, $400,000 rental homes in Arizona.
Sign me up for $200 rental homes.
Yep. Now, my Arizona people often are not California buyers unless they're a high-level executive, unless they're a high-performing physician of sorts who's buying something that's a second home, vacation home, close to the beach, that type of thing. So business that starts in California more often flows to Arizona. The business that starts in Arizona more often stays. Once in a while, it'll go the other way.
So talk to me about the market here, the part of the market. You said you work along the 202 and the 101. So you do the whole valley, but what are your favorite parts of town that we'd want to talk about?
I absolutely do the whole valley, right? But if you go to my Zillow, you'll see everything I've sold, right? 400 plus homes, something like that. It's mostly up and down the 101, starting in North Scottsdale all the way down through Tempe, Chandler, and then you hit the 202 and you can go to Ahwatukee, you can go to Gilbert, you can go down into Queen Creek. These are kind of the areas. Within Phoenix, you have Ahwatukee, you have Paradise Valley, Arcadia, these areas. I don't get to the west side of town that often, right? Do I have clients that own houses in the Northwest Valley and Peoria? Sure, right? But the majority up and down the 101, 202, Chandler, Gilbert, Ahwatukee, Tempe, a lot of Scottsdale, a little bit of Paradise Valley, and these days a lot more Desert Ridge, kind of like that North Scottsdale, Desert Ridge into Cave Creek area. But up and down the 101, 202, these are the main areas.
Right. So you talked about investment properties, right? You said that was your personal start and that you've helped a lot of people with that. So right now, what parts of town are you seeing people buy investment properties? Are they buying long-term rentals, short-term rentals, a little bit of both? What does that look like?
For whatever reason, most of my clients buy long-term rentals, right? Mm-hmm. Are there great investments to be made in the Airbnb world? 100%. But most of my clients are busy professionals. Engineer, programmer, executive, doctor. They don't have time to manage an Airbnb. So most of my clients and they buy investment properties, do long-term leases. And the nice thing is often, especially with single-family homes as opposed to condos, they get tenants that stay 3, 4, 5 years. My personal record, I had my first rental home. I had a tenant stay in there for, I believe, 19 years. It's like, thank you, friends, for paying off my mortgage for me. All right?
Yeah.
Most do single-family homes. What are the hot areas? A little bit there. They actually like the west side of town because prices are a shade lower.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the two anchors for investment properties right now are our two big semiconductor companies, right? You've got Intel in Chandler, which is huge. It's been there for a long time. It's expanding. 3 new factories, or I believe 2 official new factories, rumors of a third. Now you've got TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, which bought up a huge piece of land in North Phoenix. And they started with 1 factory. I believe recently they've announced a second factory. Yep. And the land is so big, the rumor mill says they're going to have 5 or 6 up there, right? So these are the 2 anchors that my investors in general buy closer to. One other one, Gilbert, still ties in with this Intel stuff, but I think if you look at the rankings of America's safest cities, depending on which year, which statistic, Irvine, California is often ranked number 1. Guess what? Gilbert is often ranked number 2.
Yeah.
So the investors like buying in Gilbert as well.
Interesting. I just love it. It's an area that I didn't know we were going to go down that path, but when you said that was your career start, I just love investing. I feel like anytime someone can buy a home and improve their personal wealth by understanding the path to get there, right? By talking to a realtor who actually has done it themselves, not just sold.
The path to wealth, right? Some people will win the lottery. Some people will get tons of stock options, right? There's many ways to do it. One that is tried and true is acquiring multiple rental properties over time. These things, they start paying themselves off. You build up a nice equity position. Depending on what your tax person says, you might get some nice tax breaks. They go up in value. Not always. Sometimes there are corrections. We know what happened, 13, 14 years ago, right? But most of the time they're going up in value. It's a great way to build wealth over time. I just give the perfect example of that family who was in my rental home for 19 years. If they had bought that house, they would have a home that's paid off instead of still paying rent every single month.
I think it's right. People always forget they're paying a mortgage either way. It's just either someone else's or their own. And it's
100%.
I own rental properties through the crash, but those properties are now worth a lot of money. And so it's just a matter of, we were fortunate that we didn't have tons of repairs during that time, but we had tenants who paid rent and, that covered the mortgage, and those houses we still own today. And guess what? The further you own it into a mortgage, then the more money goes to principal every month, and then they're getting closer to what you just said.
You can't beat it, especially if you get a nice job, you're in some corporate environment making a good living in your mid-20s, for example, mid to late 20s. I just posted something about this on Instagram recently. Get the ball rolling. Buy that first house. If you really want a rental property, turn that into a rental. Move into the next house, turn that into a rental, rinse and repeat. I have multiple clients that have done this over the past plus or minus decade. They own 4, 5, 6, 7 homes just by buying, moving.
Yep, buy and keep. They just think they're buy and sell, but buy and keep.
It's like life in some regards is like Monopoly. Just buy and hold. Ideally, don't sell. Now, there are exceptions. If it's a primary residence, your profit's going to be tax-free, et cetera, et cetera. But usually I tell people, buy, don't sell.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Well, that was an added gift I wasn't expecting as we went down the path. So let's just dig in a little deeper in California. You said that you love selling in San Diego. So kind of give me a particular part of San Diego that's one of your personal favorites.
Oh, San Diego, the kind of the North County part of San Diego, Del Mar, Encinitas, Carlsbad. It's just a beautiful, beautiful area. It's a high dollar area, but it's a beautiful, relaxed area. Love selling in those areas, right? It's kind of a pocket that, if you're in LA, everyone knows what Beverly Hills is.
Yes.
All right. If you're hanging out in Phoenix, you know what Scottsdale and Paradise Valley are. I feel for whatever reason in San Diego, maybe the locals know, but a lot of people from outside don't know that these areas close to the beach, north of the actual city, right, en route to Orange County, it's just kind of a diamond. It's a gem. These are beautiful places to buy and have homes. And I was referring earlier to where not too many of my Arizona people buy in California. This is an exception. I've had probably a handful of physicians that are have great practices over here. Where have they bought second homes, vacation homes in California? Del Mar, Encinitas, and then if you go to OC, kind of like that Laguna Beach area.
Yeah. Well, I know Laguna Beach is very expensive. So you said that's a little less expensive than the Del Mar, Carlsbad area. What would someone spend there?
Let's start with Laguna Beach, right? If you're talking about 700 square feet of house built 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, very old homes, right? These are 1.5 million.
Right.
And they may not have views. And condos there that have views are lovely, but they will hit you with really high HOA fees, 1,000 plus a month, right? If you're in Encinitas, if you're in Del Mar, et cetera, that 1.5 million, well, you're going to get more bang for your buck. It's not going to be a 700 square foot nice shack. It'll be an actual proper house, maybe 1,500 square feet, maybe 2,000 square feet, et cetera. It still pales in comparison to the bang for your buck in lots of parts of Phoenix, but compared to a Newport, compared to a Laguna Beach, the numbers are better in North County of San Diego.
Right. Yeah, and it's like 45 minutes. Is that about the drive from downtown? To get to downtown San Diego to like Del Mar, is it half hour, 45 minutes?
Depends on traffic. Everything
right?
in California depends on traffic, right? You can make it from the heart of LA to the heart of San Diego in 2 hours. That same drive can take you 6 hours in traffic. It's all time of day, construction, accidents, et cetera, et cetera. If you look on the map, a lot of the distances in Southern California are not so vast, but the time to get from point A to point B can be thanks to traffic.
Yeah, no, I get it. I won't go down my LA traffic stories from last summer living in Venice Beach.
Yeah.
But I totally get that. All right. You mentioned Instagram, and that's how Susie on my team found you. So how would we find you on Instagram?
Homes by Kaushik Sirkar. Instagram is what's interesting. I'm finding on Instagram, and I'm relatively new to really trying to grow my social media as compared to some other agents. You look up some of these agents that have 30, 40, 50,000 followers. Like, wow, they must be doing a ton of business. They sold 3 homes in their career. They sold 4 homes in their career. So this social media is a nice ancillary support for your business, to advertise your wares, to maybe gain a couple of clients here and there. But real estate is a business where historically it has not been the bread and butter. You look up the top producers, they don't necessarily have a huge Instagram presence. There are exceptions, right?
Right.
But I could pull up right now on my phone's over there. I could pull up 5, 10 Instagram profiles of realtors, and not all in Phoenix, California, Texas, 30,000 followers, 40,000, 50,000. If you're going out and you're shooting videos of homes every single day, when are you meeting your clients? When are you doing your paperwork? When are you showing your homes? When are you taking your listings, right?
Right.
So it's a great tool to utilize as part of your tool belt of marketing advertising. The ones who appear to dominate in that regard, 8 out of 10 aren't really dominating.
So how are you making time to do both?
Being efficient, planning the day. If I'm going to have videos of homes shot, try and coordinate, target a day where I'm not that busy with everything else and have 5, 10 videos shot of different homes. If I'm making videos, reels of myself, if it's a slower Saturday, slower Sunday, sit down, record all the content in an hour, hour and a half time frame. There's no way I could set aside 10:45 every morning to record a video of my talking. It doesn't work.
Right.
There's too many fires to put out. You got to deal with this transaction. You have to service this client, et cetera, et cetera. So when the time affords itself, knock as much of it out as possible. It's definitely something that the newer folks should do, but it is not the end-all, be-all by any means.
Well, that was kind of the answer I was somewhat expecting from the engineering background, right? I feel like, it's one thing when you have a real estate agent who flies by the seat of their pants. I feel like if you have a real estate agent who's got the background that you have, I just know it's a process. You used the word blueprint before, that you walk people through, not just your team members and the coaching, but also the client journey that they go through as well.
100%. Whether it's somebody trying to get into the business, just getting their license, you got to follow a blueprint. You have to have a plan. Now, you might deviate this way a little bit. You might deviate that way, but you need a general plan. You need a general pathway towards success. The same thing applies towards clients. If somebody says to me, I'm looking for an investment anywhere that's a good return, well, that's lovely, but that's very broad.
Right.
And there's only one person that I've come across that I will tell this person, buy this house now, and this person listens. He's also my dad, right?
Well, that's good that your dad.
Other than that, every other client that is an investor I've had has to develop their own comfort level.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Let's say they want to search for homes in Gilbert for investments. Let's keep an eye on that specific submarket. Get your finger on the pulse of the market. The price is going up, price is going down. Which subdivisions do you like? Which do you not like? What are these things renting for? Get your own comfort level then you can buy. They don't buy because I tell them to, and I don't want them to. Right. I want every one of my clients to be as educated as possible about the part of town, the type of product they're looking into, et cetera. And they need to have their own comfort level before they proceed.
Yeah, I always think as an investor, you just have to have your own plan. Like, what do you envision it to look like, and then make sure that you stick to your guns so that you get something that you feel is going to be financially successful.
An investor needs the right team around them. They need the right realtor. They need the right property manager. Our firm in Arizona does property management as well. You don't have to use us. You need the right financing source. You need the right contractors, because some of these homes are going to require remodel. I can refer the contractors. You need the right home inspectors. You need the roof inspector. You need the plumbing inspector. You got to have the right team around you. Don't go and do this blindly. And I'm more than happy to be of assistance putting that team around a potential investor.
Yeah, I think it's funny you pointed out the fact of property management. And so this is a good one to listen to if you're thinking about investing, is that I had a friend who owned a property management company, and he said he got really frustrated because he would have someone sell someone a house, right? Didn't help them invest. They just sold them a house and said, here's what you can get for rent. And then that wasn't the real rent when you actually talk to the property managers. The fact that you actually have both in your organization, I think says something, because you're not going to mislead someone because you actually have to perform on what it is that you set up for them.
I don't want people to just take my word at face value. I want my data to back up what I'm saying, and I want them to see that data. If I tell you House X is going to rent for $2,500, don't take that at face value. Ask me for the rental comps in the last 6 months, last 1 year, that's showing plus or minus homes in that subdivision of this square footage range are renting within 2,400 to 2,600 in 10 days, right? Back it up. Right. Same thing goes on the purchase side. If you're going to buy a house, right? Just because I tell you it's a good deal, let's look at the sales comp. So let's look at what's already sold, because that's what an appraiser is going to look at. Let's look at what's on the market, because these are your other potential choices, and come up with pricing that makes sense. If a home's overpriced, let it go, let it sit. If it really is a good deal, okay, go ahead and pounce, but make sure you see the data to make that judgment for yourself.
Love it. Love it. I mean, it's just the proper approach, right? I always feel like data tells the real story, and expertise matters. And then when you marry the two together, then you actually are making an educated buyer. Let's take
it to another level, right? Any realtor, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can say, oh, what beautiful countertops, or this house is gorgeous, et cetera, et cetera. But you're going to see that yourself. I would rather try and point out the other things, right? If we're touring a house, my eyes are open to see if there's termite tubes. My eyes are open to see if there's water damage under the eaves. My eyes are open to if there's extensive cracking in your ceilings and your walls that are suggestive of foundation damage. My eyes are open on the map to see if there are train tracks nearby. Is there a main road nearby? Is there some sort of wastewater plant nearby? I more effectively serve my clients pointing out the negatives of a situation of a property than the positives. They can see the beautiful quartz countertops themselves.
You're protecting them from their emotions, right? It's an emotional decision. You know, investment property is a financial decision. Your property that's going to be the roof over your head, where you're going to raise your family, is an emotional decision. So I love the fact that you pointed that out.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground. What else? Is there anything else that you thought you wanted to talk about that we didn't bring up?
Oh my goodness. Because I have people that have done business in both states with me.
So unique. Unique.
And I have future people that will, but haven't experienced it yet. The transaction process in Arizona is different than the transaction process in California. In California, if you're going to buy a house, boom, 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 done. You know that deal's happening. But everything has to happen at the speed of light. Your lender has to get the appraisal, everything done just like that. You have more time on a transaction in Arizona. What are you buying, though? All right, if you're shopping in California in OC cookie-cutter homes, it's similar in many regards to large parts of Arizona. But in California, there's way more homes built in 1920 than there are in Arizona. Here, maybe Arcadia, some of these areas, Biltmore will have a few, but in general, that's much less common. If you're shopping in California for one of these homes, oh my God, the due diligence you have to do is ridiculous. Yeah. You're going to have your inspector. You're going to have, without even looking at the house, the inspection will require a roofer, a foundation person. You're going to have a plumber with the sewer scenarios. When were the sewers built? Does that property have its own sewer? Was that code back then? It can be a whole lot more complicated, right? So transactions are much faster in California. Like, you have a done deal in 10 to 14 days. Arizona, it could be 30 to 40 days before you know the deal is done. But what you have to accomplish in that 10 to 14 days in California can be much more extensive if you're not in a cookie cutter neighborhood.
I love it. All right. So we got you on Instagram. Give me the website again.
thesirkargroup.com.
And you can access all the areas in the country, basically Arizona, California, that you sell. Look for properties, learn more about you, and I'll make sure that we get all this in the show notes. Super enjoyed the journey we took today. It's fun to talk about something other than just Arizona for a change.
Great chatting. Again, if folks want to chat with me, thesirkargroup.com. Give me a call, 480-600-2808. As long as I'm awake, I'm in my office. I'm not in my office right now because the phone's over there. Normally it's attached to my left hand.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. That was an awesome show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today.